get back to the film aspect now, actually. A couple of things I want to talk to you about since you are, in the film producer seat, basically. So I remember Spike Lee kind of caught a lot of flack because of his latest film, Chirac. And a lot of people were giving him harsh criticism about it because he felt as if he depicted Chicago in a negative light, basically. And also in a satirical light because he has gone on record to say that Chirac, like the whole plot of it, is kind of based on a play from back in the day where the women prevented the soldiers from having sex with them if they wouldn't stop going to war with one another, basically. And so I feel like he used the gun violence in Chirac to kind of mirror that play that he was trying to mimic. So in your opinion, actually, I'm not sure if you've seen the movie or not, but just based on the premise of it alone, do you feel as if he was kind of making a mockery out of the violence in Chicago, or do you feel like there's more of like a inner lining of it, so to speak, that could also educate people on it?
I mean, first of all, a director is more visionary. That paints a picture from his or her standpoint. I mean, like there are let's be real. There's a lot of things happening in Chicago, right? So I feel like it's his point of view. Obviously, people are gonna have their say, but I mean, he has a valid reason why he did what he did.
Yeah.
And I mean, you just gotta respect that. I mean, there's movies, people. I'm pretty sure there's people that like it as well. So I mean, yeah, I don't really blame anything. We're directors. We do what comes to our heads.
Yeah. More importantly, you guys are artists, basically.
Exactly. So
and
we paint pictures.
Exactly. That's the way you want to express your art. A lot of people. I wouldn't even say a lot of people. A few people have said that there wasn't really anything wrong with what he did. It was more so just the timing of it because with what's happening in Chicago right now, it's still pretty fresh. Because if you look back at a film like Inglourious Basterds, directed by Quentin Tarantino, he made a satirical play on the Holocaust and how that went down. Now, the Holocaust hasn't happened in like 80-something years, like 70, 80 years roughly. So obviously there's time on its side to kind of massage and kind of let that pass. So I feel if,
so the wound's still fresh.
Exactly. And I think that may have been Spike's mistake if there was a mistake. So I haven't seen the movie myself personally, but I would like to see it just so I can get my own personal take on it. But one thing I can say is that a lot of the Chicago hip-hop artists in particular were not happy with it. One of them being Rhymefest, and he just completely defecated all over the entire thought of the film.
For real.
Yeah. One of the things that he said actually is that he said how he read the script and how other artists like Kanye, Common, Chance the Rapper, they read the script and they weren't about it. And also he was saying how Spike didn't reach out to enough people within the Chicago community about input on the city of Chicago and what's really happening.
Well, why? I mean, it's. I guess I feel like
if everybody want to input, they make their own movie. That's just it.
Yeah.
Like I mean, Spike is a legend within himself. Like he's made classics. He's done amazing things. So I mean, if he wanted to try something new or do something,
experiment.
It's an experiment. I'm pretty sure he's learned from it, and his next film might be something that everyone loves. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So,
I mean, this could be a case of trial and error. We don't know.
Exactly. We don't know.
Yeah. So let's talk about films. Let's keep on talking about films actually. So one of the difficult tasks that I find with black directors in Hollywood in particular is they try to bypass the line between creating a black film, so to speak, and a film that just so happens to have a lot of African American actors in it, but not particularly being a black film. Do you feel like that's a challenge in Hollywood for black film directors?
Honestly, I don't know. I'm not in Hollywood, but there are a lot of black actors that are making a scene. Like in Star Wars is a big deal. There's an African actor. So I mean, it's tricky. It's tricky. You know how there's always that white overcast of actors in films, and it's always hard to break out of that. But I mean, we got to celebrate the individuals that are breaking through.
I mean, I'll give an example actually. Like for example, Tyler Perry. I feel like he makes black films in the sense where they can be at times very stereotypical of the African American culture. Yeah. So a lot of jive talk, a lot of overly dramatic scenes, what have you. Those are more indicative of a black film, quote unquote. It's almost like a throwback to like black exploitation films from like the 70s, with all the jive talk that they had in their speech and in the scripts. But then you have a film like Creed, for example, where despite the fact that it has a predominantly black cast, it's nothing close to a black film. It just so happens that the main character of the film is black, and then there are
so what would make why isn't it a black film? I don't like,
because I feel like it's on a black film, like quote unquote a black film in a stereotypical sense, because there isn't
a drama. Is that what the stereotypical way is?
It's one of the things. It's one of the stereotypical aspects of a black film. I find that in certain films, like almost any film they look at from Tyler Perry, for example, like Daddy's Girl, or I'm trying to think of another one right now. Maybe for Colored Girls, for example. Yeah. I feel like the drama is a little way over the top, in a sense where I feel like he does that for shock value and for the attention to be casted onto the film. And I don't think that's necessarily the right way to go, because it just casts a stereotype over the Black American audience, and the general audience will probably think, oh, that's how black people are like all the time. Yeah. And of course, not everyone's gonna think that, but at the same time, you want to give them a reason to. Yeah. Now with Creed, for example, Creed was mainly a story about someone trying to make a name for themselves, and that transcends beyond race.
Oh yeah. Sure.
So that's why I say that Creed is not a black movie, because the central theme in that movie, which I just mentioned, anyone can relate to that. Everyone's always trying to go out there to create their own legacy.
I mean that's all that type of film is more of the rise to success.
But I still feel like it does have more of a black feel to it, just from him coming from being a kid with all his anger or whatever, being in his situation, and then being brought up through what was his mom.
It's kind of a complicated story, because it was the woman. Have you seen the movie?
Yeah, I've seen the movie.
Okay. So the mom who came to pick him up from the group home, or whatever the case was, that was Apollo Creed's, I think, second wife or something like that.
Yes, it was.
And she was the one who she knew about Apollo's past with the other woman or what have you. I think the other one was actually the side woman.
Yeah.
And then
she took him under and
exactly.
Yeah.
So I felt like it's something that's more relatable to the black culture. I mean, not having that mother and dad side by side. You know, I feel like that's more of the stereotype to the black community as well, though.
Yeah, with the absentee father, I get that. I think in that case, though, his father wasn't around because his father passed. So that you can't control. Yeah. It's not a situation where he was scared to take responsibility and decided to run off elsewhere, right? I think that would have fit more into the lines of the stereotype, if anything. And then with another movie that's coming out actually in 2 years from now, so Black Panther. Black Panther is actually the first ever comic book with a colored person as a superhero, basically. So that movie's coming out 2 years from now, actually, 2018. But the character is going to make a debut in Captain America: Civil War. So there's been a lot of talk lately as to whether or not that film should have a black director. So in your opinion, it's getting serious right now. It's getting serious. So my question to you is, do you think that the Black Panther film should have a black director?
Yeah,
you think so?
I think so. I mean,
I don't even like this black and white thing is just crazy.
Yeah, but
it's just crazy. I feel like whether you're black or white, you still have to study that time. You still have to do a lot of research to make sure, because anybody that's going to be watching that movie is going to make sure that nothing is missing.
Exactly. That was my next point, actually. I feel like when it comes to that film in particular, I feel like it doesn't matter whether the director is black or white. Yeah. It matters if they know the source material. Yeah. If they know the source material and they can find a way to bring life to it, then they're doing their job. I don't care what race they are.
You know what I feel like?
Either way, that movie is going to get a lot of slack, because there's going to be people who are going to say they missed out, or they put too much light on that, or they didn't put enough light on this.
Exactly.
It's either way. I think and if it's going to be a white person, that white person is going to.
Oh, there's 10 times the pressure. There's 10 times the pressure. It's like the cultural appropriation. Oh my god! oh, Black Lives Matter. It's just like,
That's gonna be a riot.
there will be. I think there'll only be a riot if like that film absolutely tanks and it happens to be a white guy, right?
Yo, it has to be amazing. Like, I mean, that has to go through reviews of like a whole panel.
Exactly. And like that's a film that a lot of people have been waiting on because
Mm-hmm.
it's not the fact that it's the first black superhero. It's not even the fact that it's mainly the fact actually that it's the first black superhero from Africa. So they're not even African American.
Yeah.
They're from Africa. And the whole backstory of this character is that he's the king of a nation. He's not even like a playboy billionaire or anything. He's a king of a nation.
Yeah.
It's a fictional nation, but that fictional nation has never been colonized by the Europeans, and it also is like one of the richest nations in the world. So a lot of people want to see prestige being brought upon, within the story, right? So if we're thinking along the themes of a black movie, for example, people are probably going to be expecting to see the struggle and what have you, but we now have an opportunity to see a black lead character in a role of opulence, in a role of royalty, so to speak. So whomever's directing this has a lot on their
The pressure's on. I should direct it.
Absolutely, man. I'd go to see that either way, man.